heard the rest. Now here's the best. Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, everybody. All you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here. Alone for this episode. Shoulders couldn't make it today, as well as Allentown. But we still have some good topics to talk about and give my takes on it. But before we do all that, head over to Twitter, follow us there at ST Sports Podcast. Like and share our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel. And now head over to our website, staytunesports.net. We actually are partnered up with Fanatics, so if you want to get any type of collectibles or just jerseys in general, hats of any sports, head over there to our website, click that link, and buy that birthday gift. Or with Easter coming up, I don't know if the little kids want Carson Wentz bobbleheads. Maybe Tony Romo bobblehead. Speaking of him, we'll be getting to him later, making more money than he probably, well, we'll get into it. I'll tease you a little bit there. But, so, I believe it was last week, I started talking a little bit about the whole emergency goalie situation that happened between the Maple Leafs and Carolina Hurricanes. Both, just to kind of recap, both goaltenders for Carolina got hurt and brought in David Ayres, the emergency goalie, to help finish out the game. The funny part about this story is he has practiced with the Toronto Marlies, which is the AHL team of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You can Google it. There's pictures out there of him with the Carolina Hurricane jersey on, but wearing a Toronto Marlies helmet. And it brought up a little bit of an issue. And I did kind of agree with the Maple Leafs GM, saying they were basically in a lose-lose situation, because either A, you only won because it's your goalie that had to play, and he helped, not really try so hard. Or you lose, and which they ended up losing, and the comments of, you got beat by your own goalie. Now, David Ayres came in towards the end of the second period, I believe it was, and the first two shots that the Maple Leafs had did go in. But after that, he stopped the remaining, I believe it was 8 shots that the Maple Leafs had on him in the third period. So, brought up the question of, should the emergency goalie policy be changed? Now, right now, what the policy basically says is each team has to supply a emergency goalie for both teams. Has to be available for both teams, whether they work for the home team or not. They have to be available for both teams. So this past Monday, at their annual March meetings, the GMs came together and said, you know what, the rule's fine. It doesn't really happen that much, which it doesn't. The reason why this policy basically got put in place was because of a game in 2015 with the Florida Panthers. Their 2 goalies got hurt, and I believe it was the equipment manager or something like that came in just to finish out the game, and that's why this policy was brought about. Now, the league's policy of who could be available and everything, each team has to submit a list of amateur goaltenders and has to be on call during games for either teams, like I said. And this could be, players on tryout contracts or just teams okay with hiring them as emergency goalies just from knowing their past. They don't get paid, but they do get to keep their game-worn jersey. I'm glad they didn't change this because I do agree with them. It doesn't happen a lot. This is only the second time since 2015 it has happened. Now, granted, it happened 2 years ago with Brian Foster, but even the NHL came out and said since Brian Foster to the 2015 incident, it's been, hundreds of games have gone without incidents. And I really don't think a goalie coming in, I mean, again, what's the chance of an emergency goalie coming in the first period? Or even the start of a second period? I mean, if your goalies get hurt that quick, it's just not your night as a team. Now, I know you can't really change a rule with that kind of thinking, but that's just kind of common sense. But like I said, I'm okay with them keeping this how it is. I know 3 years ago at the same meeting, the GMs proposed to include a third roster spot for goalies. A lot of coaches were against it. They felt like that would take away from, having an extra defenseman or extra forward or whatnot. But, when I read that, even like I said, I'm okay with them not changing it. But if they were to change it, why couldn't they have that third roster spot? And when you have your game time scratches, that third goaltender is a scratch, travels with the team wherever they go, whether it's home or away. But if both goaltenders get hurt, he could come in. He's not taking up a roster spot. I mean, obviously your starting two goaltenders aren't coming back in, so you're not taking extra defenseman or extra forward away. I don't know if that route got floated, but I don't think that would be a bad idea. Again, this is very rare. It happens. And I don't think you're going to get goaltenders in there that, my team is shooting at me. I'm just going to let them go in so they can win. I hope that's not the case, because if that is, then they do have to change this rule. But, and like some of the GMs and coaches said, this, even though it's so rare, it gives the NHL fans something to talk about. The feel-good story, David Ayers, 41-year-old Zamboni driver. He's a donor survivor. I think he had a kidney transplant. Liver transplant. It screams Disney movie. Gives everybody something to talk about. So, but like I said, I'm glad they didn't change it. I'm okay with the rule. I don't think many fans are upset over this rule. I mean, I really haven't seen too much other than some people saying, that they agree that it shouldn't be changed. It works. The old adage, why change something that's not broke? So, speaking of being broke, looks like the New York Yankees are picking back up where they left off last year as far as injuries. I don't know who has the worst medical staff, the New York Yankees or the Philadelphia Eagles of the past 2 years. Now, granted, the Eagles overhauled their medical team this past offseason, which thank God. Hopefully, we see a better outcome there. But once again, Aaron Judge is injured, as well as a couple of other pitchers, and I'll get into them in a second here. But Aaron Judge underwent another MRI on Monday for his right shoulder. No news as of right now, but Brian Cashman did come out and say it's looking more likely that they're not going to have Aaron Judge ready for opening day, which is in about 3 weeks against Baltimore Orioles. This, I think, is a big blow. Definitely is a big blow. I should say that. Definitely is a big blow. And it started to make me wonder, is he the Ryan Howard for the Yankees? You know, when Ryan Howard played for the Phillies, he came on the scene like a house on fire, launching home runs left and right, got the big contract, and then all of a sudden just start breaking down. Injuries and just bad plate appearances, which, again, Aaron Judge does the same thing. I know the past 2 years when he was healthy, had some strikeout issues. Now, as far as I go as an Orioles fan, I'm glad to see the Yankees' big play guys not being able to get ready for the season, because let's face it, the Orioles need all the help they can to have any type of competitiveness this year. I think it's going to be a couple more years before we even see or hear the Orioles get past, third place of the AL East. But I bring this up because they also lost their right-hander, Luis Severino, to Tommy John surgery, and also the left-hander, James Paxton, on top of Stanton. Stanton's out again. So already you have four main guys that you were planning on relying on not be able to start the season. I mean, Paxton's looking at the earliest could miss the first 2 months of the regular season after having back surgery in February. Comparing to the Eagles, again, I was screaming for a year. There has to be something done about the medical staff or the strengthening and conditioning coach, because to me this screams that I just can't understand how these guys constantly get hurt every couple weeks. Is the medical staff team not rehabbing them the right way? Are they rushing them back too soon? I mean, a guy like Aaron Judge or Stanton does not have to be playing every day of spring training. Be out there for batting practice. Be out there for fielding practice, throwing the ball around so you're staying in shape. But you don't have to play 4 or 5 games a week. Even 3 games a week. Ease them into the year, because the Yankees better hope that this whole shoulder injury is not a long-term injury. Even though the MRIs did come back negative, they can't figure out why he's still ailing. And then Severino, with his Tommy John surgery, he was out last year with arm issues. It's starting to look like the Yankees are going to have to rely on the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders affiliate again, which it did work out last year, but at some point the luck's going to run out on the Yankees, hoping that the AAA team can just hold on until all their big stars come back healthy. I'm starting to get a little bit excited for baseball. Never really got into the whole spring training and trying to watch it, but I buy my dad the MLB TV thing or whatever, and he likes to watch the spring training and stuff like that. But again, maybe it's because the Orioles aren't going to be that great again this year. I'm curious to see about the Phillies, how Bryce Harper does in his second year. He's got the first year out of the way. I'm thinking he's going to be a little bit better than last year, because he like I said, he's got that first year out of the way. He sees how the fans are and how they feel about their players when they're not playing good. They're going to let you know. When you're playing great, they'll hug you and buy you a beer. Andrew McCutchen, I felt bad for him, with the situation that happened to him last year, blowing out his ACL. Hopefully he comes back healthy. I think that will be a big bump for that team. The veteran presence, and he's not the player that he used to be, but I think he still could be productive. And not to bring it up again, I am curious to see how well Houston does. The one underlying stat that seems like no one wants to bring up about this whole cheating scandal is that they actually had a better road record than at home. So I will laugh if they actually win the World Series, have a better home record this year than road record, and basically a big FU to the baseball community for bashing them, and even that story, them getting plunked almost all the time during spring training. How much of it is intentional, how much isn't? Listen, I said it's gonna be tough to decide what was an intentional hit, what one wasn't, unless you come out and say, hey, I'm going to hit Altuve at some point during this game. And if you hit one of the other players, I think you still have some evidence there to say, listen, you premeditated that you were going to hit one of the Astro players. So a little football talk. Tony Romo is staying with CBS. Yes, I'm sorry, Dallas Cowboys fans. He will not be coming out of retirement, just like Jason Witten. Hopefully Witten stays down on the field and not get back into the broadcast booth, because Witten was terrible. I don't know if he was trying to be like Romo, but it was bad. But Tony Romo signed a new contract with CBS. It's anywhere between a 3-year deal or a 10-year deal. Yes, that's correct. So as of right now, it's a 3-year deal, $17 million per year. But depending on how long of the TV deals that NFL negotiates with CBS and Fox, it could get bumped up to 10 years. But if the NFL deal with the TV deals goes less than that, it's guaranteed to be no shorter than a 7-year deal. And I'll tell you what, $17 million for him, with the way he calls a football game, I think it's well worth it. I just wish he had the chance to. I just wish ESPN had the chance to offer him her contract, because I think it would be very entertaining to put him on Monday Night Football. I don't think we've had a good, enjoyable Monday Night football crew since the Pat Summerall, John Madden days. John Gruden, he was okay. But towards the end there, he started to get ridiculous with some of his way he would describe things and stuff like that. Romo, I mean, yes, I hated him when he was on the Cowboys, but I'll be honest, I tune in to watch him just to see what plays he guesses right before the ball's even snapped. It's uncanny with how he is. I mean, it's almost like he has a earpiece hearing what the coach is calling. So to compare his TV deal with all his NFL contracts that he's ever played for, there was only 3 years that he made more than $17 million in 1 year. He made $17.5 in 2007, $25.5 in 2013, and $17 million in 2015. And he played 14 seasons. So basically in the length of this deal, he's going to make more money than he ever did playing in the NFL. And there are some players out there that are pissed. And I don't agree with it. Michael Thomas came out and said that no TV analysis should ever make more than an NFL player. Well, the contract that you're earning, where were you in the last playoff game that you played? You were silent. You had, 3 catches? Mr. 10, 12 targets a game? Odell Beckham Jr. said, I'm retiring. I'm just going to become an analyst. How about you stop throwing a hissy fit first, because you're not going to be able to do that on live TV. You'll get fined even bigger than what Roger Goodell does. And again, if I have to compare Romo, how he calls a game, I think is more entertaining than watching Odell Beckham throw hissy fits on the sideline because he's not getting the ball, or his quarterback isn't doing that great, or his coach won't call a play where he's, not the number one guy. Like, dude, shut up. Go a full year without causing drama for a team. Which sounds like he's sticking around with Cleveland because he did agree with them that he'll help unveil the new uniforms. So congratulations, Tony Romo. Well deserved. Can't wait to hear some of your games for the next 7 to 10 years. So speaking of wide receiver prima donnas, or whatever you want, divas, or what do you want to call them, more information is coming out about Alshon Jeffrey with stuff that happened last year with the Eagles. So last year, I forget which week it was, third, fourth week, whichever, a anonymous source told a ESPN reporter that Carson Wentz has no control of the locker room. The offense has to be dumbed down. Even Peyton Manning knew when to check down. So basically taking shots at Carson Wentz. Some people thought it was Nelson Aguilar. Some people thought it was Alshon Jeffrey. A lot of the people that thought it was Alshon Jeffrey thought it was that because he was always seen talking to this ESPN reporter. Jeffrey denied it, still denies it. About a month ago, he came out and said he would be open to going to a different team via trade. Definitely will be hard for Philly to get rid of him. And this is not a good spot for the Eagles to be in. And here's why. Because on one hand, if you keep him in the locker room, this will carry over the whole year. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Any type of drama between a wide receiver and a quarterback, or a running back with quarterback, every week they gotta get answered, or they gotta get asked those questions. Did you say this? Did you say that? On the flip side, if the Eagles cut him, it will cost them $10 million in cap space. As of right now, they're sitting at about $40 million in cap space. They obviously have holes in cornerback. They got to upgrade cornerback. They got to get some type of wide receiver core help. Love Deshaun, but he's got to stay healthy. Jeffrey was a no-show last year. Nelson Aguilar, all he did was drop balls. You had practice squad guys, Greg Ward, even JJ didn't step up like I was hoping for him. They gotta get help in there. So if you cut him, that takes you down to $30 million to sign all your draft picks, sign your free agents that you don't want to hit the free agency, and then try to get upgrades at cornerback and wide receiver. That's going to just wipe out that cap space. And I'll be honest, I don't know how to fix this situation. I mean, I'd rather them keep him there, roll the dice. Hopefully Carson and Jeffrey could work this out and get past it. Jeffrey is obviously on the decline as far as production. I think we picked him up at the right time and helped out in 2017 for the Super Bowl. But now he's on a decline. And you don't want that toxic relationship around your young quarterback that you're still trying to build up to be the superstar that you feel like he is. I think Carson's right there. Now his step is gotta win a playoff game. He is our Steve Young. He's gotta get that monkey off his back. Once he gets that monkey off his back, I think a lot of pressure off him will be done. But having this toxic relationship with Jeffrey around is not going to help it. So the reason why I bring this up is when these sources came out that there was some rifts in the locker room, a Philadelphia Eagle player actually confronted Jeffrey about these statements, and the two had to be separated. Now, the name of that player has not been released yet, but my guess, just looking at how that offense is, I gotta think it's either Jason Kelsey or Lane Johnson. I think both guys are very outspoken players, and I think they both will defend their quarterback till the end, especially Lane Johnson. But when I saw this, I mean, this is why I think they need to figure out a way to somehow get him off the team. Because we remember this happened with the T.O. and McNabb thing, where Hugh Douglas went after T.O. in the locker room. And those two had to be separated because punches were thrown. So this is not a good start to the Eagles season, when the Eagles season didn't even technically start yet. I mean, we're still about a week or so away from free agency. So speaking of free agency, I brought it up about how we have to upgrade our cornerback situation. Came out that Carolina Panthers cornerback James Bradley, who figures to not be re-signed by the Panthers, is looking to make $15 million or more per year on a new deal. Even before looking at anything, I was okay with this because I don't want Byron Jones. I think he's going to be a Nnamdi Asomugha signing for us again. I just don't think he's going to fit well. And he wanted more than 16 because he came out and said that 16 million was too low. Here's the thing about Bradbury. He's tall. He's 6'1", big body, 212. So, when you're down inside the red zone, I think he could help box out, the receivers. And he's played in the NFC South. Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, just to name a couple big name receivers, and has locked them down. Now, he doesn't catch a lot of interceptions. In 4 seasons, he has 8 interceptions, but he has 47 pass defenses. I'm okay with that. That to me tells me that you're quick at reading the ball enough to get your hand in there and break up the passes, which I think would help our defensive line. Because if you're playing close to the receiver, unless you're Jameis Winston, a lot of times the quarterback's not going to throw to him or force it in there unless they have to. And I think that's what was one of our major problems last year with our defensive line, was that our corners were not giving our D-line enough time to get in there. Now, he is going to be joining, like I said, Byron Jones and Chris Harris are the 3 big guys that are going to be at the top of the cornerback free agency list. If I had to list those 3, I would go Bradbury first. I would like Chris Harris, then Byron Jones. And to put this whole Bradbury $15 million per year perspective, because it is a lot of money, but the past few years have hovered around $14-15 million a year for a top corner. Xavier Howard, I believe, from the Miami Dolphins, was the last big name to get that $15 million a year. So, just like we're gonna see probably with the running back position, you may see the 15-16 million a year corners, and really hoping that we get Bradbury to definitely get an upgrade at corner. I definitely would like to see Jalen Mills come back. I want Darby gone. I want Malcolm Jenkins to stick around, but it's looking more and more like we may let him walk or look for a trade. Rodney McLeod is another one. I would like to see him stick around, but I think he may be going just because of his contract. If he goes, I wonder if we drop Avonte Maddox back to his safety position, because he didn't play that bad at safety when McLeod got hurt a couple years ago. Now, another Eagle player in the news, former Eagle player in the news, and I'm hoping to get with Shoulders and Allentown this weekend to see what they feel about this, but Nick Foles may be on the outs with Jacksonville, with them coming out and saying they're looking to trade him, and they're going all in with Minshew. Now, let's not forget that Foles left Philly to sign with Jacksonville on a 4-year, $88 million contract last year. So already, the Jaguars are behind the 8 ball here, because that's a big contract for a backup. They're not going to pay a backup, $22 million And that's why Philly let him walk, because they didn't want to pay him $22 million. Now, the contract did include a $25 million signing bonus, and $50 million of it was guaranteed. Really didn't do anything in his starts. I mean, he went 0-4. He had an 84.6 passer rating compared to Minshew, who went 6-6 and had a 91.2 passer rating. Already Eagles fans are clamoring at this. Oh, let's get him back. Let's get another Super Bowl. But here's the thing. You all bitch and complain that Carson Wentz can't stay healthy and he's never going to win the Super Bowl because he can't stay healthy. Foles is the same way. He's only started 13 regular season games since 2016. And he's never started more than 11 in a game. You look at Carson. Okay. Last year was the first year that he won 17 games. And I don't want to hear about, oh, well, he got knocked out of a playoff game. Let a 300-pound guy spear you in the head and see if you don't get a concussion at full speed. So stop with that. But if we bring Foles in, and I don't think we are, because again, I think we have bigger needs than a $15, $20 million backup. If you bring Foles in, you're never going to let Carson grow because he's always going to be looking over his shoulder. He's always going to have to answer those questions about, well, you know, do you think the team will play better if Nick comes in or this and that? I think it's going to be more of a headache than it needs to be. I think, you know, Marcus Mariota, hell of a lot cheaper, could be a good backup. I think Josh McCown, you could probably convince him to come back. I know he said he wants to play still. And even Nate Sudfeld. I mean, he's not going anywhere to start. Why not try to bring him back? He's a decent backup. Nothing great. Now, one name I did see, and not to get off this Nick Foles subject, but Taysom Hill. I seen a couple reports that Philly should go after him as a backup. I don't think Taysom Hill would sign here because he's never going to start, and he already said that if the Saints don't look at him as a starter, maybe it's time to move on. You know, Drew Brees says he's coming back for one more year. Maybe Taysom Hill signs a 2-3 year deal, stays with the Saints. But it's just funny how there's something about Philly and Nick Foles. Foles, you know, was a Pro Bowler back in 2013 with his 27 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 7 interceptions, whatever it was. Gets traded to St. Louis. Was horrendous there. Signs with the Chiefs. Didn't do anything there. Comes to Philly. Played very well when he came in. Won us the Super Bowl. Goes to Jacksonville. 0-4. The only thing I could think of is he's a system guy. You know, Doug Peterson is a student of Andy Reid. Runs kind of the same offense. I mean, that's what it screams like, you know. But I just hope that we don't trade for him because we have bigger needs than a $22 million backup quarterback. And I know Shoulders would be like, well, I'm good with them. You know, we need a backup quarterback, not $22 million though. Sorry. So before we go, we're going to talk a little bit of XFL games we have this weekend. Kind of got away from it the past 2 weeks. But we got Seattle versus Houston, New York versus Dallas, St. Louis Battlehawks versus the DC Defenders, Tampa Bay Vipers versus the LA Wildcats. Now, when I was talking to Shoulders in Allentown, I said, you know, when we start bringing these XFL games back, I want to do a game of the week. And I think this week is going to be the New York versus Dallas game. Just because, just look at these records. Seattle's 1-3 going up against Houston's 4-0. I'll admit, I'm a Seattle Dragons fan. I don't think we have a chance. If Aaron Silver is still starting there this weekend, I'm just turning the TV off. I don't think he's that good. We put BJ Daniels in there. You saw that offense totally different. He's a bigger quarterback. Even with him in there, if he plays how he played against St. Louis, I still don't think we could beat PJ Walker and Phillips, their receiver. The St. Louis Battlehawks versus DC Defenders. Listen, they were 11-point favorite over Seattle last week and only beat them by 7, and that was close. What would have happened if BJ Daniels started the first half? I was not impressed. And then the last game, this should be a barn burner. Tampa Bay versus LA, both 1-3. I don't think that's going to be a good game. But here's the thing about the New York Dallas game that I have for our game of the week. It's at Dallas, who is 0-2 at home, and New York is on the road, who is 0-2 on the road. I expect this to be a high-scoring game because both teams suck at home and on the road. 4 weeks into the season, I'm still enjoying it. Obviously, last week with the Seattle game, we finally seen a rule that the XFL is going to have to fix. And what it was Seattle was going in for the touchdown. I believe it was BJ Daniels, actually. And a little melee skirmish broke out. Flags got thrown. Unsportsmanlike conduct on the St. Louis player, which was a 15-yard penalty assessed on the kickoff. Now, here's the thing is, they already kick off on the 35-yard line. So now it moves up to the 50-yard line, and with the kickoff rules, you have to get that ball between the end zone and the 20-yard line in midair, which is already hard to do. Now you're only 30 yards away. Make it more difficult. Granted, they got lucky and was able to kick it in between the goal line and 20-yard line. But my opinion, I think they should change that rule where if it's against the receiving team, the 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the first play of offense, not on the kickoff. That would be the most logical thing, I would think. But we'll have to wait till the off season to see what kind of rules they tweak and change and stuff like that. But I'm enjoying it. Not sure about you guys. Just imagine what Tony Romo would be doing if he was calling some of these games as well. So I think that's going to be it for this week. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Hopefully I could get with Shoulders in Allentown this weekend. We could maybe rehash some of these stories and get their opinions and, fight with them and get Shoulders fired up over Nick Foles possibly coming back to Philly. So before we go, head over to Twitter. Follow us there at ST Sports Podcast, as well as our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Head over to staytunesports.net. On the right-hand side is all our social medias and where you can find us to listen to us. And there's a Fanatic banner there. Click that to make your bobblehead purchases or whatever your birthday gifts you want to buy your kids or your spouse. So till next time, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.